Well, Monty, welcome into our Blues family and to Bedford Blues. What's your first thoughts about joining us here at Goldenton Road for the 2022-23 campaign?
I think it's just really excited to get involved with Championship rugby. I've been a part of rugby. Has been a part of my life for years and years. It's part of my identity. So being able to say I'm a professional athlete and get paid to play the sport that I love is a dream come true. So yeah.
This is your first step up into the men's game. How much have you been speaking to your coaches down at university, and how much have you spoken to the people here at Bedford about what Championship rugby is going to be like?
Yeah, up here at Durham, we're surrounded by really, really great coaches and people who've sort of been there, done that, and got the paperwork. So Keesey, our head coach, Alex Keys, he sort of around Christmas time when I said, after I finished my time at university, I'd like to give rugby a really good go. And he helped me out with, in the sense of, really pushing me, giving me targets to focus on the pitch. Obviously, representative stuff was on the table. And then other guys in the squad. So Gareth Nesbitt, who's our forwards coach, who's a real forwards guy. And with the front row union that is here at Durham, where it was so dominant, he had a big part to play in that. And I think he really helped my development overall. So being able to chat with him to say, what are the sort of things I need to be looking for, what sort of areas I'm going to be targeting, not just within the game, but sort of how I'm going to push on and sort of what level I can really get to. But it sort of snowballed right at the end. It sort of, we played the season, obviously won the league, got all the way through to the final of the cup, and unfortunately lost to Exeter by 1 point, which was devastating to have gone that far, but great to have done the double with back-to-back league champions. And then after that, I thought I'd have a week at home and that would be the rugby season over. But then England students opportunity came up, and obviously took that completely, and spent a week in Newcastle with guys like Darren Fern, who set it all up. Mark Wilson was there as one of the coaches. Obviously, Gareth Nesbitt, a coach there as well. So they sort of kept an eye on me, and since then, met my agent, who was also an agent of one of the Durham boys here, who's actually signed with Coventry. And he really just sort of said, right, let's give this a real good go. And obviously Mike had a conversation with me, and I thought it went really well. And here we are.
And you sort of joined the championship at a time where actually the Bucks League is a real good pathway into it. You've spoken about the player that's gone to Coventry. You're the second university graduate to join us here at Bedford Blues. It's a real good pathway. You've only got to look at, I guess, Alex Donbrandt is the key one, that he went through the Bucks system. But it's clearly a really good pathway to produce very good championship and premiership rugby players.
It has. And for me as a forward, the development time for forwards is much later than backs. I went to Hartbury College in Gloucester, and one of the guys, I was fortunate enough to play in a really, really stacked team. We had Stephen Varney, who is obviously plays for Italy now, and obviously Lewis Rees-Zamm at the British and Irish Lions. So had a full team there. So for backs wise, it was at 18 then. Zammit, he's fast as hell. He's not going to get any more faster if he takes 3 years to go to university. But for me as a forward, for the development opportunities to be able to play against guys who are older than you, but are not too much that it's something you couldn't handle, I think was a really good opportunity. And with sort of the professional environment that it is, if you have a really good career, perhaps you'll get to 30, 33, and then you'll still have the rest of your life. So being able to come to university, pick up a really good degree, Durham's a pretty prestigious place. So be able to come here, play high class rugby and get a great education as well is something that I really thought would be a good step up. And then pitching up here, it was my pre-season first year, so 3 years ago. We played against Edinburgh in a pre-season game, and I'm there as a sort of 18-year-old fresh, and I come against big tight head, and I think he was 25, but he looked like he had 3 kids and a mortgage, and that was really the introduction to proper men's rugby. And across the 3 years, obviously COVID took a year out, which was really disappointing, but I think it sort of lit a fire underneath me for this third year to be able to come in and really push myself and see what I can do. And I think it's prepared me the best possible way to step into sort of senior men's rugby and a professional game.
Fair to say that the state of the championship at the moment has probably allowed players to take more of a stock of where they're at in their life in terms of, we've got boys now that are doing part-time rugby, part-time work. You obviously took that choice to do university studies early. It's not the most common pathway. It's kind of everyone's blinkered, I'm going to be a rugby player and I'll deal with all that afterwards. Why did you choose that was your pathway, despite the fact that you're obviously keen to become a rugby player? Why did you think it was so important to have that university backing behind you when you came into the professional game?
I think it's more just the long-term thinking, being able to realise that, I'm a 21-year-old, I'm a young guy, even in a professional game. So having those 3 years to sort of develop myself and really give myself the best opportunity to become a better player, I think was really worthwhile. And I don't think it should be sort of considered a poor way to sort of lengthen out your career, as it were. But it's the later bit in life. It's that having that degree to fall back on, you're ever one injury away from, finishing your career. So being able to have a degree to fall back on, I think is something that is really worthwhile. You see it a lot with football. They get signed at 16, they go through it, they come out with very little sort of formal educational sort of qualifications, and then it's they're a 23-year-old, they're no longer a professional player, and it's, well, what do I do with myself? I didn't want to leave myself hanging in the air and not have the best opportunity to do something with my life outside of rugby. And as much as I wanted to give rugby a real good go and see where this journey takes me, it's definitely something that you need to think about more.
Obviously, your main focus at the moment will obviously be on the field. You've mentioned about that front row union. You haven't gone too much into your position. You join us as a loose head prop. We can see the flag behind you, the Irish connection, loose head connection with Joey Conway is going to be interesting. You're both Irish. You'll probably be the only two players in the front row that can actually understand each other. But I guess just talking about that battle, he's obviously done he's been more in Ireland during his younger career. You've obviously had, flirtations with it, but both come through the representative ranks. Does that kind of help that you've got someone in your position when you arrive here in Championship Rugby that's kind of been through a similar pathway?
I think it's really exciting. Whenever you go into any new squad, there's going to be people of different backgrounds, different experiences, and they all come to bring something. And I think having somebody there to, tap you up and say, hey, this is sort of the way we want to be doing things, and sort of almost acting as a mentor, I think will be really key for my development, because I've still got a lot more to learn and a lot more to do. And equally, coming into it, I'm not, someone who's stuck in, one team since I was, 15, and now I'm a 21-year-old and going to somewhere else. I've played in lots of different structures. I've played with lots of different teams and players, and they all have something different to bring. And I think being able to go into a new environment and lean on the experience that other people have, I think will really greaten myself. And hopefully I'll be able to bring a little bit along with that.
And in terms of that experience, you've got a forwards coach here at Bedford Blues that is revered as one of the best loose heads that the Championship has ever seen. How much are you looking forward to working with Sean McCarthy, who again has got some sort of Irish connection? It's all kind of weirdly working out for you at the moment.
Yeah, it's all the little things, isn't it? He's been around rugby for a long, long time, and he's got a lot of experience. And I think just being around that sort of environment will be able to give me something to take on. It's not about shouting and asking loads of questions, although you do need to ask questions eventually. Sometimes you just need to stand back and watch and just see how they operate, because I haven't seen much of him, but from what I've heard from a lot of people, he's a true professional. So be able to go into that environment and just sort of soak up what I can, I think will definitely be the way forward coming into camp.
And Sean definitely would say this. Joey is sort of going that way as well. They're not your conventional loose head prop. They get around the park quite a lot. They do all that kind of stuff. If our supporters listening to this interview probably won't know who you are when you arrive, I'm trying to say that in the most polite way I can. But how would you describe the game that you're looking to play and how you try and impact on the team?
I think it comes from sort of my experiences as a younger player. I was always a fairly big boy, but was always quite mobile. I started out, I think it was under 8s or under 9s when it was contact heavy, and I'm clearly a forward. But I used to play loose head prop just in the scrums because it was uncontested. I was able to peel off the scrum and go flat in the fly half fairly quickly. And then when it became more competitive scrums, I switched across to the tight head side, just because I was able to give that bit of dominance. And my dad has been a real coach of mine all the way. He still does. He still picks me up on little points. But it's always been that sort of power in there as a bigger bloke with good technique is something I've always focused on. But then I moved to the back row. I played 8 for a bit, and that sort of increased my ball skills. I spent an entire summer just passing off my left hand so I could get that sort of 20-meter left-hand spin pass just to have all of that part of my game. And then eventually when I realised I wasn't going to get any taller than what I am, it was sort of, right, let's get back to the propping. And I played across loose head and tight head, but I felt more comfortable at the loose head position. I switched a couple of times this season, but it's sort of that the core value of what I like is the scrumming stuff. It's really nosing. I could watch a game and really go into detail about all the scrums. It's a proper prop thing to do. Nobody else loves scrums except for that little front row union. But I think that core value of set piece has always been there. That's first and foremost your bread and butter as a front rower is your scrums, is your line outs. Get those drills right and your happy days. But I was always quite a mobile player. I like getting my hands on the ball. It was always something when you're surrounded by great players, you'll be able to read the game a little bit more. You're able to see different things. I love hitting lines. I love carrying the ball, but it's more mobile. I think it's less so that the classic propping. It's set piece to set piece. These big lumbering units. I think sort of the more modern prop has been developed. I think you see guys like Ellis Genge who love getting hands on the ball. They're seriously mobile blokes and they move around a lot. Carl Sinclair, big tight head prop, but he's got real great soft hands. Just to be able to be a better all-round player. I think I'm able to bring a lot in the loose game. I think, just the experiences in playing different positions. I've played fullback once. That's 100% sort of success there. I've kicked a bit. It's sort of different things that you wouldn't expect a front rower to necessarily have is the sort of finer motor skills. It's being able to do a couple of passes off each hand and get them nice and accurate. I think is something that people won't expect from a front rower and could cause a few mismatches.
You're still up in Durham at the moment. You'll obviously think about coming down to Golden Road for pre-season. That's only actually a couple of weeks away until we meet up for the first time. Have you had any chance to speak to any of the current members of the squad? What do you know about Golden Road before you get here?
I haven't really been able to. It's only really been a couple of weeks since it sort of got finalised and I was coming along to Bedford. Fortunately, I've known enough people around sort of the team to be able to give me a good idea of what the place is like and what the environment is. I think that for me is really important, having a really good culture coming into wherever it is. So while I was at Hartpury, my roommate for my first year, who's a friend from back home, is a guy called Tommy Matthews. and he was with Northampton Saints for a bit, and he played for Bedford. So I gave him a call after a little bit after I thought, what, Bedford seems like a really good place to be. Called him and he gave me the rundown, and it was nothing but great things. I mean, he said the environment was great, that all the lads were really, really fantastic boys. So I think that for me sold it, and it seemed like the great place to go and sort of continue this journey.
I don't know if you watch any of our interviews so far with the players, but it's always the same question, because it's what I feel is the best place to end signing and re-signing interviews on. If you had a special message for our 2,500 supporters that pack through the gates every game, what would it be going into the 2022-23 campaign?
Get excited. It's a brand new season. We have a lot to offer. The squad's looking really good, strong, and I think you're just going to be excited to be there in a big packed crowd and watching some really great rugby.